Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Westview Church podcast. This is Pastor Marty, and today we're going to be in our third episode of the discussion about why Matthew. As we engage the gospel text this coming year, we are in the Gospel of Matthew throughout the year, and I thought it would be a great piece for us to take a look at the different elements of who we encounter in Jesus in Matthew. Today, we're going to get into the concept of the heart of Jesus and our hearts and how we engage the gospel and how hearts can break, how they can be rekindled, and what are some of the ways we can learn to care again when sometimes we can't care anymore. One of the things that Matthew understands better than we often admit is this: you cannot follow Jesus for very long without something in you breaking. Not because God is cruel, not because discipleship is supposed to be miserable, but because real love always dismantles whatever armor we've built to survive. Today I want to talk about the heart, not sentimentally, not romantically, but formation-wise. Because in Matthew, a softened heart isn't a side effect of discipleship. It's one of the primary goals. As we look at the heart of Jesus, we can go to Matthew 9, and we're told something very revealing about Jesus. The quote is, "When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd." That word compassion isn't emotional fluff. It's visceral. It means being moved in the gut. Matthew wants us to see this clearly. Jesus does not lead from distance. He leads from exposure. He leads from being right there with us and seeing it from our perspective. He sees suffering. He sees the confusion of the human experience. He sees what it's like to be in systems of exploitation and not be on the powerful side, and it affects him. And that's really important because many of us learned faith as a way to manage emotion, not engage it. You know, in the church, a lot of times we're told, don't feel too much. Give it to God. Or don't care too deeply. You can't solve all the world's problems. Or don't get overwhelmed. God is with us and it's okay. And don't take too much onto yourself. Matthew completely tells a different story. Discipleship, it doesn't numb the heart, it resensitizes it. In fact, I would make the argument that Matthew uses heartbreak as formation. Here's this uncomfortable element of Matthew that keeps pressing. If you follow Jesus closely, your heart will break. In Matthew 14, Jesus feeds the crowd because they're hungry, but only after the disciples try to send them away. Their instinct is efficiency. Jesus' instinct is compassion. And that moment matters because it reveals how discipleship works. Jesus repeatedly puts his followers in situations where their defenses fail. And heartbreak shows up in two forms. First, the heartbreak of seeing suffering you can't ignore anymore. And then the second is the heartbreak of realizing how much you have ignored before. The second one is harder. Matthew doesn't let disciples stay innocent. He lets them become aware. And awareness always costs something. So what do we do with a broken heart? What happens when your heart is tired? What happens when your heart is guarded, worn down by people, institutions, disappointment, or grief? Matthew does not offer quick fixes. In Matthew 11, Jesus says, "Come to me, all you that are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." Notice what he does not say. He does not say, "Figure it out." He does not say, "Toughen up." He does not say, "Lower your expectations." He says, come. Discipleship does not mean bypassing pain. It means bringing it into relationship. And Matthew keeps reinforcing this. Jesus stays present. He doesn't rush healing, and he doesn't weaponize hope to make people feel better. There's a crossroads that happens, and Matthew understands that heartbreak creates this fork in the road that happens. Pain can either harden us or it can change us and widen us. Jesus names this tension in Matthew 23 when he laments over Jerusalem. He said, how often have I desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing. That's not anger. That's grief. And grief in Matthew is not weakness. It's the cost of loving a world that resists being healed. Discipleship means choosing not to shut down, even when it would be easier. So, how to practice a soft heart? This is where Matthew gets very practical. Compassion is not a feeling that you wait for. It is a practice that you engage. Here's some examples. Jesus feeds people. Jesus touches people. Jesus stops for people. If your heart feels broken, Matthew doesn't tell you to think differently and pretend it's going to go away. He invites you to act mercifully anyway, because action often leads the heart back to life. So if your heart feels bruised or tired or raw, Matthew would not say that you're failing. He would say you're being formed. And that formation is what we're going to get into next time. Because as we walk the way and follow the path, it's important to realize that we are on a lifetime journey. Thanks for listening to this third episode of the podcast, talking about the heart of Christ and what it means to rekindle our heart. May your heart be touched by the gospel and connected to service in the world, that we might continue our discipleship path together. Have a great day, everybody. See you next time.